I have buttoned.
Oh, likewise. Yeah, I need to think
Oh,
about that.
yeah, are we
too.
still doing that? Because I haven't done it.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, I,
Oh.
Alright, I'll think of it at some point. Have I done 2 level ups without doing that?
Maybe. Because I thought it was like reputations, like, because we're in a different world. They don't know our reputation. Let's see. I guess I need to actually get my character sheet up, huh?
Can I have the reputation foe of Salt McGila?
I have reputations up through level 5 for all of you.
Yeah, my last reputation was Survive Meteor.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Game of Flumps.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
I can give you Evie's level 5 rogue reputation.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Selfless for going 7 days without eating. I think that's the longest anyone in the party went. Doing 2 forced marches through the wilderness to try to keep her family alive.
I've only got up to level 4 on my character sheet.
And just for your information, I think it is likely at this point that Evie will start taking levels in Noble instead of Rogue.
Okay.
Bricker, what do you have written down for my level 5?
I know.
I have level 4 Artificer held the back line.
I remember selling you that.
So
Okay.
I think Victor's reputation is going to either be the pants thief or the stripper. I'm not sure which.
I think we're gonna go with Dirty Cheater.
Dirty Cheater's a good one.
Yeah.
Like, look, quick to cheat.
Hey, Ekon was so quick to cheat.
Let's see. Oh gosh.
I thought I put it on the I thought I put mine on my character sheet, and it's just not here anymore.
So
I know
Victor's
what I
going with
want,
Pants
and I'm just.
Thief?
I think so.
Okay.
I know what I want, but I don't know how to word it. So give me just a second.
Found it
I've
out.
got committed the body of Janice to land with Air's fire. That work?
Sure.
Victor wants people to not take him seriously so that he's constantly underestimated.
Is it working?
So far.
Rickard, what do you have for mine? Because it just vanished off my character sheet.
I have Frog Slayer as your most recent.
Oh yeah, you did kill that.
Yeah,
You killed the big old frog.
I did kill a big frog.
You've saved
Champion
Evie a
Wicker
couple
Ball.
times at this point.
Champion of Wicker Ball.
Wicker Ball champion?
Yeah.
You were on the losing team though.
He was still a
Listen.
champion player.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, champion
MVP,
Wicker Ball.
MVP.
Just champion
MVP.
Wicker Ball
MVP.
MVP. Yeah, there you go.
Wicker Ball MVP.
He could be the monk who lost his pants.
No, he was the most efficient player on the other side. We just cheated constantly and still didn't do as well as he
cheated
did.
way more than you guys cheated way more than my team did. Just saying.
I think we're
You
just
and
waiting on
Orson.
Genie.
I don't know. That can
Curiosity is a crapshoot. If that's not good, then you can just put constantly curious.
Constantly Curious fits better in my spreadsheet.
Okay.
All right. Who has a 100-word summary of all the trouble you got into last week?
Oh, are we actually live?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been live for a while.
I pushed the
Oh,
button like
no.
10 minutes ago.
Denny
was
Denny
sacrificed.
Denny made friends.
He's going to
And-
stay friends with them forever and ever and ever.
He's in a very saltier place now.
Wow.
Hopefully, the fire will prevent him from coming back.
It's his birthday.
Anyway, so we bounced out of that town because nobody wants none of that now, and we got recruited by one King Azalin Rex to become managers of a parcel of land.
Yes, and Victor lied to his
Yes.
face.
Victor Liars. Victor just changing his name.
Victor is taking on an alias.
I feel like that's
come on.
Azalin's decision.
And we were getting prepared to go out to our new parcel of land.
Well, first things first, you all were drafting a contract.
Yes.
That is not how you spell that word. Oh my god.
So what sort of stipulations or things do you put in the contract?
I think first of all, we didn't really get a chance to discuss the actual terms. If anyone wants to bring things up or is mad at Evie or thinks Evie should not be in charge, I open the floor for that discussion.
I'm not saying you shouldn't be in charge, but I will show a bit of concern because you're looking pretty Ruby there, and I know you don't like Ruby, and you don't like seeing Ruby in yourself, but you're seeming pretty Ruby there.
Can you elaborate?
You seem to have this ambition of taking this land and making it a thing for yourself. When our goal is, I thought that we were going to try and find our way back to Bremenine.
My goal for this land is for it to be a safe haven for us in this awful place filled with evil. And to be clear, I'm not even sure that we're going to get there and it's going to even be salvageable. We might get there and it's just going to be made of snakes.
Made of snake.
Hold on, I have to update my notes real quick.
It's just made of snake.
Victor is concerned by how quickly you agreed to everything he offered without any sort of negotiation or counteroffer.
So to be clear here, this man knew who we are. He knew our names. He knew where we came from. He knew where we were out in the wilderness when we didn't know where we were.
Oh, he didn't know our names until you told him.
Yeah, he did.
I think he already knew our names.
Well, he did.
He
I
did
think
because
He knew everything about us. I do not think that we are in any position to deny this man anything at the moment. We are kind of in a position where we kind of just have to play along. We are in his power. We are in his castle. He seems to have a knowledge of magic that far exceeds anything any of us are capable of. Probably greater than any magic that we've ever seen in Fernisco.
I would like to point out to Victor that he did, you called yourself Vincent, and then he immediately called you by your correct name. He did not call you Vincent.
He
I
had
don't know
what?
if you caught that.
Electricity magic? Was that it?
Yeah, electricity. Jeannie pulls out her napkins.
So I don't think we have much choice but to play along with this man for the time being.
No, I completely agree in that regard. It's just I just want it to be clear what our intentions and goals are supposed to be here.
Oh yeah, no, we're not staying here if we can help it. But
We need a home camp in order to get information to figure out how to get back home.
yeah,
My intentions are to get back
1000% agree, brother.
but I'm starting to think that isn't going to be as easy as we hoped.
No, and best thing as my brother also just said is that we need a safe place of operations to where we can have control of it.
Now that said,
And-
we are House Veritas. This is what we do. But
Agreed.
having a safe haven, if we can even make it made safe, I don't even know if that's going to be possible. But I believe that we should take advantage of this opportunity. If Aslan Rex is being straight with us, he seems to certainly have a lot of pull. It seems like if we are allied with him, there may be a lot of the evil forces that lurk in every corner of this horrible land. There are some who may not be willing to cross him. Certainly the bandits that we passed on the way here did not seem eager to incur his wrath.
So here's my problem. On the way here, remember all those failed villages that we passed?
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite concerned that we might end up as one of those. Now, the only reason that I'm willing to go along with this is because he did mention a number of ruins in the area. And we should probably check those out at some point.
I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us. Anything we can learn about this world, anything we can learn about how it works, its history, or how we might get home.
One thing I think we should start doing is we should just so there's the very real chance that we don't make it home.
Ekon, give me an insight check.
Sure.
Aren't you good at this?
I'm super good at it. That would be a 22.
You're listening to this conversation. Your family discuss plans for short-term, future, and long-term, and you hear Victor mention the ruins that are supposedly in the area of this failed village, and how many empty, just ghost towns you passed on the road on the way here. And you recall something that the stranger mentioned to you after meeting him along the road before you headed north to McGreer's. That the ruins in Darkhan are young. It is the people that are old.
I don't even know what that would mean.
Yeah.
Does it mean they're transplanted here? I guess that checks out. That's what happened to us. And then they got killed by frog monsters.
I don't think anything in Darkhan or in whatever this land is, I don't think anything lasts for generations here. Anything that we build, we'll keep it standing as long as we can, keep it safe as long as we can, but we shouldn't assume that this is going to be like a lasting legacy.
I think
there is something that Aslan Rex said a number of times that did get my attention. He speaks about things that happened a long time ago as though he were there. He talks about Renal and Gorshu as if they were children, when to my eyes he looks to be a man of no more than 40 summers.
Are you suggesting he's some sort of, immortal?
Oh yeah, he's absolutely immortal. Is that even like a question?
I've read, stories of the ancient Fey folk and, how they're supposed to live for scores of years longer than any of us.
He clearly has a grasp of magic that far exceeds our understanding.
You don't think he's an elf, do you?
Possible.
ears are wrong.
I mean,
They're supposed to
The
have like
stories I read didn't have any drawings or photos or.
They're supposed to have like
ear expert.
they're supposed to have like square ears, right?
They're supposed to have pointy hats and dance around on cereal boxes.
Right.
We should assume there is more to
Make
him
cookies.
than we have seen.
They make cookies.
that is an interesting point, though. I mean, if your suggestion before was that we should try and find some elves to see if there's similarities, he might be. I mean, I've never seen an elf. Have any of you?
I still think there's possibly some connection between elves of this world and the elves we knew because there is a shared language. But
Okay,
it may just be that elves from our world just got pulled here the same way we did.
What are we like? So part of the discussion, Brick Road, was that he wanted to know about our house relics, correct?
Yes.
Flavor of magic.
So what, like, and I'll say I noticed, and I'll say this out loud. Like during his description of our magic, he was, I don't know, 60-70% of the way there. Like he was missing some key things. He had some there was some assumptions there that were wrong, And I'm just wondering, like, because it's probably going to be me or Ekon. I think either one of us could do it probably. Would fill in those gaps.
Well,
Like, what are we telling him?
specifically,
Like, and how
I mean,
soon?
this is part of our, this is ostensibly part of our deal. Like he's not collecting taxes on whatever we happen to bring in.
Oh, and I look down at the note and I say, and just so you know, if he tells me what, and I bring up the napkin and be electricity is, I'm telling him everything. I'm
I remember
sorry.
there's some advantages to the way we do magic that we're not aware of, just because we're so used to it.
I don't know, like what those soldiers and what he was doing seems way better to me, but yeah, possibly.
He seems to be a fairly powerful wizard in his own right. He may just be interested in learning magic. Our magic is different than the magic he knows. He may just be curious about it. I think that's a question that we'll have to broach at a later time. There's nothing we can really do to address that right now.
The only thing that I can think of, the main difference is possibly maybe having the relic makes our magic inherently more powerful than his, even if it is. I don't know. I would have.
What if you have to be born with magic? Like any member of our house could learn magic. What if the relic is like anyone can do magic?
I'll have to get some.
What if there are members of our house that couldn't do magic, like inherently? Isn't that weird? Do you even just thought of it?
So, Brecro, question: is there a like he won't let us off the grounds? I remember you saying that.
Correct.
He is. So, is there a library?
In the castle, you mean? In the keep?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, probably several.
That we're allowed in?
Making inquiries about it to Renal, he would basically ask, like, what sort of library you're looking for. What sort of books do you require?
Magical theory.
Make an insight check.
Oh, okay. I am not super good at this.
No, but you are the one asking the question.
I am.
True.
23.
Okay. Aslan Rex had told you that you have basically run of your wing of the keep. You're in the southwest wing. There are, to your eyes, when you were out in the center grounds, it almost looked like he had 5 castles. All taken together, it's the largest castle you've ever seen. You know towns in Fernisco that could fit inside of this ring of keeps. Even though Aslan said that you had full run of the castle, you have found yourself blocked as you're trying to explore other wings. Very politely. You haven't been rebuked. And when you bring up the topic of perusing a library with Renal, you're almost expecting to be turned away again. You're expected to be told that, yes, Aslan has libraries, but outsiders are not allowed in. And then, like, a bevy of apologies, right? Instead, Renal very quickly asks what sort of books he can bring you, and then apologizes that they're almost certainly going to be written in Darkonese or Barovian or Folcavian.
And I'll pause at that and be like, I can read Darkonese, but I've not heard the other two. Do you have any knowledge? Do you have any language primers on those? The other two? Barovian and what was the other one?
Barovian and Folcovian.
And I'll ask him, do you have any language primers?
He tells you that one could be brought, yes.
Do you mind bringing one for each of those language and just any magical theory books that you can provide in Darkonese would be fine.
And he tells you that it'll be brought with your next meal. And as he turns to leave to see about your request, something strikes you. That was surprisingly easy. Mm-hmm. Up until now, Aslan, you haven't seen Aslan in person since the audience in his solar.
Oh, I'll stop him. I'll be like, oh, one more question before you go.
Okay, Colombo.
Columbo. No, this is just something like that popped in my mind when Brooke. Like the His Majesty. What is the correct term?
His Grace.
So His Grace said that he would make time to teach me about some of the workings of the, and I'll point at the lights and the water and things like that. Do you know when I can expect that?
In His Grace's own time.
Okay. I didn't expect you to have an answer, but, and asking is free.
But yeah, as Renal goes to fulfill your request, you find that it was surprisingly easy. Like, he agreed very quickly to bring you books on what, if you had a library of magical knowledge in Brennanine, you have a tenet from Ayer to share that knowledge, but in practical sense, that's not what happens. You have to go through certain amounts of red tape. Every family, including the Veritas family, has like a secret sect of guarded knowledge that they dole out only sparingly. So you're not expecting much when the books comes back. That's what I'm saying. When you actually get them, though, he brings you several books in Darkanese, and he brings you a language primer for Darkanese, Barovian, and Fulcavian. He also brings you a very, very old atlas of Darkon.
That's what I was forgetting. I wanted to see if they had any maps.
So the atlas is... Oh, you know what? I didn't save this image.
Fine.
Let's see if I can Google it up while I'm describing it. Well, we'll start with the magic then. There are two main books. One is a book, it's a religious text. And I have to print screen this. I'll have to do this on the laptop. I have to multitask here for a few minutes.
Is it a religious text in an academic sense or a religious text in a religious sense?
It's a religious text in the sense that it's kind of an anthropological study on a religion or set of religions by an outsider.
Okay, so an academic sense. Gotcha.
And it describes a pantheon of gods, all of which are unknown to you. You haven't heard of any of them. I mean, you were raised in a monotheistic culture that's been that way for thousands of years.
Uh-huh.
But the focus of the text is on magical powers granted to the adherents of these gods and how they've waxed and waned over hundreds of years of history in some land that you've never heard of.
Sorry.
Jeannie and Ekon, if either or both of you would like to give me a religion check. Ekon, you can make this at advantage.
Ugh. Oh, that's not bad. Religion is an 18.
I only got 16.
Okay. Some of the magic in question very closely maps to what Ekon is able to do with his magic in terms of healing the wounded, in terms of destroying undead creatures, creating light and lighting fires, that sort of thing. The kind of things that Ekon gets up to, even down to describing things like using holy salts and turning prayers into blessings to grant speed and agility to your allies. The magic checks out. The other book that you have is a similar codex on the magical abilities of what it calls the Dragon-Blooded. Men and women born from a line of people who had mated with dragons. Dragons are only mythological creatures in Fernisco. There's no credible evidence that they've ever existed. And
We have a vial of blood.
You do.
We also have salt that turned dragons into dragons.
I got breathed in the face by a dragon.
And reading through this book, that's the kind of information you stumble across. It's very reminiscent of your. What was that NPC's name on the boat?
Orange twist.
Cleric, I think.
Twist. So again, the magic seems to check out.
But there's nothing, and it could just be because like this is not, the books are not in Darkanese, but I do notice that there is no. So wizards exist, right? In Fernisco, Grand Fernisco. Wizard.
They do, but they still require a relic to cast their spells.
Right, I understand that, but like the idea of this dragon, like I'm reading this dragon one, it's obviously talking about sorcerers. So these are people that were born with innate magic.
Yeah, they draw their magic power from blood granted to them by dragons in aeons past.
And obviously that would be something that is rare, but happens in Grand Fernisco as well, because people like Ekon, and like Ekon has technically like wild psionic talent, so does and that's obviously in their blood, right?
But think about it from another perspective in this case, because could the same not be said for all of our family who are able to cast magic? It's innate, isn't it?
No, it's a learned skill. You have to train for it.
There was a time in history where all of mankind could use magic freely. But then there was an event called the Third Sundering, which severed man from his magic. From that point on, anybody can still do it if they have a relic, but the training to use the relic is essential.
Closely guarded family secret.
Yeah,
it can be, but essentially all of the D&D classes that use magic exist in Fernisco, and they all get their magical ability from the same sources. Ekon's is granted by air. Jeannie creates hers by being a mad scientist, etc.
Engineer.
But it all has to be focused through... That's what I said, mad scientist. It all has to be focused through their relic. Either a house relic crafted by somebody in a noble house, or one of these ancient relics that have just kind of peppered around the landscape, because it's a D&D setting.
But it is essentially a learned skill. It is not entirely... It's not entirely... The source of the power can be external, or it can be internal, but it is essentially using that ability is a learned skill that is similar for everybody.
And the books that you're reading here basically just completely skip that step. This is talking about priests who are granted powers by their god directly, and talking about these dragon-blooded magic users that just draw magic from inside themselves and use it.
I'm going to ring up the servant, and I'm going to ask him a question. Do you have any books on magic as a learned skill? Like, and just as an academic study where somebody, and I'll point at the book, where somebody is not granted their powers by an outside source, or somebody is not born with an innate source of magic as a learned skill. Do you have any books on that? And I'll give him the word for... I guess I'll just tell him like something like wizard, or like the magic of wizardry, or artifice. It's like...
And that gets the response that you were kind of expecting the first time. His response is very guarded now. He tells you if you have a specific inquiry to make, he would be happy to look into it and see what he can share with you.
Huh. I see.
And by the way, you're not summoning the Seneschal to you. You're seeing him typically 3 times a day when meals are brought. That's when these kind of requests are being made.
No, that's fine. Just the next time I see him, it's fine.
So did we get a map of Darkon?
Yep, I'm working on it.
Okay.
I thought
No problem. Just trying to make sure I hadn't lost a thread there.
I thought I had downloaded it, but I had not.
So the divine magic works basically as Ekon expects it to work, with the exception of the house relic, correct?
More or less. The text in this book, well, first of all, the religious book you're reading talks about false gods, obviously.
Like, who is this? Who would follow a god named Osbrim? What the heck? That's a dumb name.
He's got a whole
Goddess
dictionary.
of the seas.
Seas seems pretty limited, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, air's also a goddess, god of the sea.
right.
Somewhere out
This
there,
is
Roz is
air
just
from being
like,
god
come
of the
on,
sun."
guys.
God of the sky, god of the earth.
The Atlas of Darkhan is very strange because it's not like a map of a region in Fernisco with proper scaling and shows how geographic features fit together. The map is splintered. And it's across many, many pages. The atlas you have probably doesn't have this actual image in it.
Question.
Question?
Do you guys tell Victor when you get an atlas?
Oh, it's everybody knows.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
Yeah,
when it
we're,
is.
Yeah, so Victor is definitely there when they're going over the atlas.
Sure.
we're all here.
Okay.
Lynchgate.
Making inquiries about this map, you learn that Darkhan is a land of mists, and that the mists are both hostile and dangerous.
We noticed.
Yeah.
So even though, say, on this map, you see where one of these roads, here along the Vuchar River, passes into the mist and out the other side, certain things have to be done by trained wagon drivers to make it to the other side of that road. And frustratingly, these secrets are not in this atlas. It's very dry and very geographic, but over a period of a couple hours, this is kind of how you can jigsaw Darkhan together. You are currently in Castle Avernus, which is Aslan Rex's large castle.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, did I say something funny, McDohl?
You did. Someone who ran Descendant Avernus. Yeah.
The village that you all had just been run out of, you couldn't... It's obviously too small of a village to be on this map, but you have to imagine it was along this river in the Great Salt Swamp, in the center of Darkhan.
I think what we'll do is, like, if we have... Can we make inquiries about these dots, like Corvia and Iluk? Is that an IL? I think that's an IL.
Looks like it. Yeah, that's an IL.
Iluk? Can we
Iluk.
Can we make inquiries about, like, the state of these places on the map? Like, do they know? Do the Seneschal know?
He knows of some of these places, but he's very guarded with information about them. He can give you an approximate population, and sometimes he can tell you the reigning lord or duke or baron.
That is plenty of information. The reason I'm asking, and I'll even explain this to the Seneschal, is the reason I'm asking is I want to know if they're... Because when we were traveling, we saw all these abandoned... villages and settlements, and then when we were traveling, we came across more dead places than alive. You know, we came across, and there was a tower over a bridge that had nobody in it except frog people. There was an entire castle that appeared to have a evil entity sealed in it, and no people. So, just that kind of thing. Just...
Where on this?
And he
map
waits
is
expectantly,
our
like
holding?
he's waiting for a question.
So I want to know if they're abandoned or not. Like, are they still active? Do people still live there? Trade? Are these still...
Well, there's no trade to be had with abandoned places.
Is this map the most recent one that you have?
This map here is something you guys have pieced together after probably a day or two of studying this atlas. You have no way of knowing how updated this is, how old it is, or even who put it together.
Okay. So here's my reasoning for asking these questions, and like, I'll take the information that he gave us, which seems to be, like you said, very guarded and whatever. And I'll look at Ekon and be like, we still have a number of people. We have 2 people that are traveling together. This can give them, with the information we have gathered about how, you know, the mists work. Like, not that they work. We don't know how they work, but we know that there is a trick to it.
So the Atlas goes into some detail about the trick, as you say. And there's a difference between fog, mists, and what the Atlas calls the Shroud of Darkon. Basically, with the white spaces you see on this jigsaw map you put together, these are the mists. Traveling into the mist in one place and trying to come out the other side is dangerous, and you have to know how to do it. And the mists are more or less a geographic feature. They're always there. There's no point, if you were to travel along this road south of the castle and travel west to here, you would always reach the mists at this point. Fog is internal to these areas. It's transient, and it can be safely avoided as long as you don't cross into it. When you guys tried to cross that bridge after leaving McGreer's, you entered it into a fog bank at an inopportune time. Had you known then what you know now, you could have camped and waited for the fog to clear and then safely traverse the bridge. The Shroud of Darkon apparently encompasses all of the region, and it is deadly. You cannot enter it. Nobody enters it and comes out again, except for the Vistani.
So, with that, God, okay, my brain had a thought and it just vanished. No, my thoughts are, do we need to then, at this point, now that we have a name to this place, can we get a word to Aethar Pladen to tell him to seek out Castle Avernus, and from there he'll be able to find a way to our parcel of land?
I think the best choice would be to have him, because if he's way over here,
Yeah.
we were actually probably somewhere over in here, weren't we?
I think we were
Like I guess that makes sense.
You're not sure, looking at the map, how likely it is that any of these roads are the wagon trails you guys had traveled. You don't really have a good sense of the scale between the two.
I think
we were in
Castle Avernus.
Go ahead.
But
Miguel.
I think Castle Avernus is probably the best landmark for them to get their bearings on.
Yeah.
Do we know which of these little islands in the mist our plot of land is going to be on?
Presumably Goroshu knows, because he's the one who's going to be driving your train there.
Let's find out from him.
Yeah, let's question Gorshu then.
So apparently when you guys set out from Castle Avernus, you're going to be traveling north to the Vushar River and then across it to somewhere up in this area.
Okay.
There's no dot on the map there. There's no road leading there.
Also, it seems to be very close to the mist on all
We're
sides.
in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
But I will say that's if we're traveling. If these are finite barriers that are always there, and we are pretty sure that we were here, then we can.
Yeah.
Pladen could probably find her. He doesn't have to travel to the Castle Avernus.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Once we're back in the contiguous area through this mist, we can send our familiars out to look for him.
I mean, I can cast send him however many times it takes. Like, it's not... Like, communication isn't that hard.
Yeah, but the familiar would be able to help lead him to us.
Right. I think our best bet is, I think McDohl's idea of finding a landmark.
Victor, make me a perception check.
If I can grab a dice here. It'll be a 14 plus 20.
Okay. Suddenly, as these guys are discussing going over this map and how they're going to get information to Platinum, there's something that you mislike a lot about the map, and it's the fact that the Raining Road runs along this coast here, and there's another road called the Raining Road that runs along this coast here in the east, but they're on opposite sides of the map with some other road in between.
That's just Tucson.
We've jumbled up our map here.
But no matter how you try to move the pieces or fit them back together, even aligning the roads like they kind of look here, you're never satisfied with how it is. No matter what you get, you feel like if you took the mists out of the equation, you still wouldn't have a countryside that makes sense.
So Victor's guess at this is that the mists potentially teleport you, and the naming of the road was most likely they were going down the road, they entered the mist, they came out the other side, no idea where it was, but they still called it the same road. And so, like, our house is familiar with traveling because we have teleportation circles. So the mists are essentially a giant teleportation circle in all likelihood.
Oh no. A teleportation maze as a campaign setting. Worst part of any RPG ever.
Oh, God.
Ravenloft's worse than we thought.
Phantasy Star 2, God. That thing is 70% teleport mazes by volume.
Just always
At least there's
go
no
into the
spinners.
southernmost pillar.
At least there's no spinners.
Ooh, yeah.
So Victor will take a closer look at the map to see. Like, I don't see any other roads on here that share the same name, but on the information we have, are there any other incongruencies with the namings of the roads? Or
I mean, whenever you look, you imagine that the map in the atlas that you've put together is a little more detailed than the one here.
yeah,
But no matter how you put it together, you're always able to zoom in, and when you give it a detailed look, like, well, this mountain range just abruptly stops and doesn't continue through the mist on the other side. Or this river flows from nowhere to nowhere. Or, like, you always have those inconsistencies.
So is there any possible way, using Victor's knowledge of cartography and navigation, to rearrange the pieces potentially in more than 2 dimensions to get a more accurate picture of how the land might be laid out?
Nothing that you know about cartography makes this map make any more sense to you. This is just the best you have to work with.
Well, like I said, we're I don't know, more than 60% sure, right? That this is where we were.
It's the only large swamp area geographically that has a large river that runs through it. But what you're not sure of, because the river that you guys traveled wasn't it wasn't like a great river. It might not be the kind of river that could appear on the map. It could be a smaller tributary of that same river.
There was a lake, though.
Yes, but
Not
was
one
it
this big.
was it this big or not? How big is Darkon? You don't know.
Right.
All you know is that you traveled for some weeks on the road, and you're not sure how that maps. You could have been to one part of this swamp, or you could have traveled from one side of it to the other to get to McGreer's. You've got no
Also,
way of
this
knowing.
map is ancient, and my understanding, at least, of Ferniscan history is that land masses like lakes can change slowly over time.
So, but we were given we were given basic directions to a Lord's Manor to in the north, right? It was north. Was it northwest or northeast?
Of McGreer's?
Yeah, of McGreer's.
Northeast.
So northeast. So yeah, that doesn't check out.
I don't think we can trust anything that the halflings actually said. They have
It could be nebulous.
They have a very loose conception of time. That Lord's Manor may have been abandoned for generations at this point.
Who knows?
Shoot.
So at this point, we know where we are. We know where we're going. We're not entirely sure where we came from, and we're absolutely sure that going through the mists is not necessarily a linear path.
I think for the Plaiden thing, I think telling him to follow the river north might be his best bet, and for him to look for, and we'll give him the name of several cities as they appear on the map. Just to, like, this is, like, these are, we have an atlas with this city, this city on it, and if you come to any of those, we will have like a frame of reference to meet up if he still wants to meet up with us. Who knows? Maybe he found that farm where all those people from Flumph of the Wild and that lady that we kidnapped went. And maybe he doesn't want to come back.
That seems reasonable. But Gorshu, I assume that if we're being granted these lands, that some surveyors have been out there and have found something of value
No.
to be exploited. No.
No.
There was a keep and some villages out in this area at one point. That's it. That's all you get. And now there's not.
And now there's okay.
If there's anything of value, well, in your meeting with Evelyn, you were told if there's any wealth or anything of value to be had, it's yours so long as you set the land to rights.
Then it looks like it's going to be up to us to do the surveying then.
How long is the trip? How long will the trip take? 'Cause we have a deadline. Like, we need to get out there and get situated before winter. Because I don't want to be in the middle of nowhere when it snows.
You get the sense, both by examining the map and making inquiries of Gorushu, who doesn't seem to think anything's wrong with this map. He seems perfectly comfortable with it. But this is another thing that kind of bothers you, is travel from any point of the map that you show him to any other point. He always gives you an answer of no more than 2 weeks. And this is true whether you're traveling from, say, Castle Avernus to the Hook Road, or from Castle Avernus to across the map to the Nocturnal Sea. He can get you there. Wouldn't take more than 2 weeks.
Is this a special feature of your carriage?
He doesn't understand the question. It doesn't make a lot of sense to him.
Are we going to at some point be provided with workers or labor to build a road to our keep?
So you're going to be provided. Goroshu's going with you, and
Yeah.
the wheelhouse to take you there, and 2 wagons with materials and teamsters. So probably about a dozen able men to
Plus-
make whatever repairs you need, and then you can set them to work doing whatever you think needs done.
Oh, question. Because this was brought up in the chat, and I don't know if anybody forget, 2 of our number did not bring their class feature with them. They got their class feature got left in Gran Francisco.
I'll say that by the time you reach the village, you can replace your retainer. And you can pull them. You just tell me where you pull them from, whether you found a friendly villager along the way, or one of the teamsters, or somebody else. I'll just let you decide.
Aslan is my retainer.
Aslan?
I definitely want to find a friendly villager.
Okay.
I want someone local.
Is there anything else you guys want to do before leaving the castle other than Jeannie's meeting with Aslan Rex?
So Victor is going to meet with the Seneschal and get as much information as he can about, the nearby ruins and archaeological sites, and sort of like relics or artifacts that have previously been found historically.
Local to where?
I guess he's going to ask about Darkon in general and kind of see where that goes.
It goes absolutely nowhere. Asking about Darkon in general, he always wants you to ask questions with more specificity. And the more specific you get, the more it seems he doesn't know or is not telling you.
Yeah, so Victor will use, after going over the Atlas, knowledge of the closest cities first.
To where you guys are supposedly have a village coming?
Yeah. So in the area, Victor's eventually going to narrow down to where we're going. We were told there were a bunch of ruins, so we'd like to know what are they ruins of, historically what was in the area, the last century, the last couple centuries, last couple decades. You just kind of get a general idea of what they might find when they go looking.
Okay. Jeannie and Victor, you are summoned to the Solar of Azalin Rex. Towards the end of your stay. So when you guys are making preparations to leave a day or two before that, and Jeannie, you had previously planned to meet with Azalin. And we're kind of wondering if he had forgotten. Well, he didn't. The two of you have been summoned. And only the two of you. Renal advises you to take with you a copy of the contract that you've drafted up that His Grace is expected to put his name to.
All right, Victor, do not embarrass me in front of the Wizard King.
You don't embarrass me. Don't shoot him in the face.
Going to go fabulously.
Okay, do we have any stipulations for putting into this contract? Is there anything...
I'm not selling my soul.
I think we should just go with like a general, like, is he expecting us to be his vassal?
Yes.
Like, okay. I think we should just go with a standard Ferniscan vassalage contract.
What are we putting in there for a clause that will allow us to leave his service without being killed in the process?
I don't know that is something he would grant.
I mean, we could just...
Can we try to enter it as an at-will vassalage?
No. Just because at will is not in the favor of the employee. It is in the favor of the employer. It's like you put an at will like thing in there, he could just decide we're not vassals anymore and kill us.
Yeah, but
that's how that would work, I think.
But if we don't have that in there, then he could just decide that House Veritas are his servants forever, and
I think we should put like if we put that in there, that like
we need an exit clause that says something that is.
I mean, if we find a way back to Gran Francisco, then
until such time as we find a way out of here.
Yeah, well, way back.
He
to Gran
seems
Francisco.
pretty dubious of the idea that we would ever escape, so I don't think he's going to think that we're putting that in and it's never going to come up.
Yeah, he'll just laugh when he says that.
Why don't we just keep, as long as our interests are aligned, we will be his vassals?
No, because that is very vague and not.
That
because...
lets him say whatever he wants
and then kill us. Like Victor, a vassalage contract is a protection for both parties. It is supposed to be a protection for both parties.
Well,
here's the thing.
Allegedly.
Like, he's gonna be. He said he's not gonna tax us, but he could like draft us to go to war or enlist us to do some real shady stuff.
He could decide that we failed and just kill us like all the other villages.
Well, yeah, but there's nothing we can do about that. He can do that anyway. He's the Wizard King of this land. He could probably kill us from across this map if he really wanted to.
With his electricity.
So, yeah, I like the idea that we will serve, we will, be his vassals, and we will be in his service until such time as we find a way to return to the land that we came from. I'm okay with having that, because I agree that he's probably going to think that's never going to come up.
Is our service going to end at death? Or are we going to serve him after death?
Yeah, that's probably it. With a guy like this, that might actually be a good detail to include. We cannot be compelled to serve after death.
So we will be his agreeable vassals until we are either able to find a way home or we die. You sure don't want to put a time limit, 10 years, 20 years, up for renewal at a certain point?
Yeah, maybe having like a, we renew the lease every 10 years.
Contract shall be renegotiated every decade.
This is absolutely not how vassalage works, but...
No, I don't think about that.
This is a lot of.
Remember, we come from a republic. We don't have like.
We're really in the weeds right now, you guys.
Yeah, we're discussing: are we going to sell ourselves into indentured servitude? Is basically what it comes to.
So, in terms of the kinds of things he's going to ask us to do, I think we just have to accept that we're not in Fernisco anymore, and we're going to have to do some things that make us uncomfortable to stay alive.
We are not assassins.
I think it's just a standard vassalage agreement with the two the two things we said, because like until such time as we find a way back to Grand Francisco,